All right. Okay, folks, good afternoon. Thank you for your patience. We up and running. I can close this off. Right, you're all still there, right? Yep. Okay, good to go. Right, so that's still up. That's up there. Good. Oh, I need to take my roll. So near few and yeah, if anybody else shows up, they show up. Leave that there. All right, folks, good afternoon once again. All right, so we are currently on question 4. Let me pull it up. Yeah, there you go. Question 4. Let's zoom into that. Yeah. So Ray's Appliances shop sells small kitchen appliances, including air fryers. He uses the AVCO method for inventory control and valuation of the air fryers. Okay. Identify one other method of inventory control and valuation that Ray could have used. Okay, so we know that they have 2 others, right? FIFO and LIFO. So we simply say that, FIFO and LIFO. And then it says, state briefly how the method identified in A part 1 works. So with FIFO, right, it stands for first in, first out. And what that means is the costs that come in first are the first to go out, right? Sorry, I'm at LIFO, last in, first out. The costs that come in last are the first to go out. All right, so if you want a little articulation, that's what I have here. All right, so under FIFO, the unit costs or cost per unit are attached to outgoing units being sold in the same order in which they came in. That is, the earliest costs to come in are the earliest to go out. Right, first in, first out. Under LIFO, however, unit costs are attached to outgoing units in the reverse order in which they came in. That is, the latest costs to come in are the earliest to go out. Last in, first out. All right. So those are the answers to that one, right? Now, okay, so just give me some feedback, Aaron Flowers and Suma. If you guys are good with that, just give me a little Genie chat or a thumbs up. Either one works. Right? If you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. Right? So you can take a screenshot, or if you're copying it down, that's fine too. Right. Now the 4 part B is where we had not hearing. Okay, 1 second. Right. Google monitoring to see what it is. You hear me now? All right, cool. Wonder boy. Chanel, Jan 2025. We in question 4 already. We did questions 1 to 3 previously. Right. Skipper, should I study POE now or English? It depends on what you need more help in and what you are comfortable with. That's a call you had to make. I can't make it. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, okay, so Aaron Flowers and Suma, if you guys are good with what's on the screen, just kind of give me a little feedback, a little thumbs up. Either one works. Or a Genie chat. Yeah? Okay. Okay, cool. Right, so I'll deal with that just now. All right, so the question says, during the month of December 2024, the following information is available for the movement of air fryers. So let's get some colors going here, right? So at the start of the month, we have a balance on hand. So balance on hand is basically your opening inventory. Let's put that one in a little, I don't want to put gray. Gray for me means like that's not being considered. So let's use a light blue. Okay, cool. I like that color. All right. Then we have purchases, sales, purchases, sales, purchases, sales, right? So maybe we could do like every other item. So we'll do the sales, right? Okay, cool. Let's do the sales in a green. Sales, sales, sales. All right. Okay. Now it says complete the form provided on page 16 to record the inventory valuation of air fryers for the month of December 2024 using the AVCO method. Round off all calculations to the nearest dollar. Okay. So check this. They give you this particular layout. Not a fan of this layout, but that's what they've given us. So in the exam, if you get a layout for something and you are not accustomed with that layout, you are very welcome to go to the extra pages and do your solution there. If that is what you are doing on the page where you were supposed to go, state clearly somewhere, please see solution on whichever page, right? And on that extra page, please do identify solution for question 4, part B, whatever the case. One second. Hey, Michelin, afternoon. That's no problem. Gil, yeah, nah, that paper is, I didn't want to talk about that paper. Yeah. Gil, yeah, nah. Yep, it have 2. Yep. I hear you. Yeah, I can't remember offhand, but I'm in a class right now. Let me get them some work to do and I'll check it and check it back now. I started the solution, I didn't finish because that question one was a lot of little bits and pieces, so I just got fed up of it. Yep, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, sorry. One of my other accounting teacher friends who doing the Jan 2022 her class and finding it very annoying people. Right. So yeah, so like I was saying, if it is you guys encounter a question and the format they give you, it's unfamiliar, you don't know what to do with it, you have no obligation to use the format, right? You can do your solution on the next page. Anyhow, what I want to do first is basically just run through how to do AVCO with you regularly, right? Now with AVCO, which is the weighted average method, right? It's called AVCO, average cost. Basically what happens is it doesn't matter the order in which the units came in. What happens is whenever units come in, we recalculate the average cost price per unit, right? So let me show you. Let me put that up there. I'm gonna go here, right? So I have my alternative format here, right? So this is the kind of format. Hold on, let me actually let me kind of off balance it here, right? Let me actually, I gotta pull it down a little bit. Yeah, so I could show a couple different things on hand at the same time. Okay, right, and what I will do on top of here is, right, so for the horizontal split. So it is split. Sorry, give me a sec. Right. So I have the headings there. Right. Okay, and down here, let me zoom in down here as well. So it's a little easier to read. Right, so we'll do it 2 ways. We'll do it the way that I think is a bit more intuitive and a bit easier to do. Although you are very free to disagree with that opinion. Right, yeah, I have the answers there, but of course I'm not going to just throw up the answers, right? Give me 1 second, let me just... Oh, here's you go. Come on. All right, start to look. Let's go through. We got this question 4, this is Jan 2025. We're doing the question 4, stock valuation. Let me just print out this stuff here, right?
Yeah.
Current page. Well, that's somebody else. Okay. That's not that red and black. No. Yeah, my question. I now start. I started a little late. I had 3 Cape sessions before earlier. So, anyhow, right. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna have to redo that split just now. All right, so online people, let's give them a couple of seconds to get this stuff ready for the peeps who just bumped in class, yeah? Huh? What's that?
Which one? People.
2025 Jam, we didn't finish it.
Oh.
Yeah. And another teacher friend of mine just called to complain about the Jan 2026 people. But I lie in our class now, so I gotta get back to her. All right. Hey, good afternoon, Shiloh. How you doing? Good to have you on. I'm gonna update my rule. Don't worry, I miss much. All right, so Jacob is here. Right, Kia is out. Let's take out Kia from the road. Zachary is here. Right. And then Shiloh just popped in. Zachary said he couldn't make it today, but he'll watch the replay. Cool. All right, so printing out stuff for those in class.
Right?
How you get away with that? You weren't supposed to do one? Serious?
Not necessary.
What?
Already first and one.
Yes.
You really get away, boy.
What was to do science? What was to do language? What's to do English?
Oh, here's another. All right, okay, cool. All right, people just popping in. All right, okay, so maybe 4:30 whatever we better start. Hey, Angela, how you doing? Good afternoon. Good to see you, man.
You come in, so they have to be French too. Thank you.
It should be 4 sheets there, right? Is anybody else want? No. All right, folks. Okay, cool. So let me just kind of recap some stuff. Also, wait, hold on. You know what? I actually wanna give those in person. Yes, now I wanna give you guys who here actually and online too a different format to use because the one that they put there is a little crappy. But we will use it because I want you all to be able to use it as well. 4? How is 4? Just now. Give me a sec. Oh, all right. Well, we gotta do that. Sorry. All right. Jan 2025, 2, question 4, stock valuation worksheet. Right, so give me a sec, let me also pull that up. We're going, right, there you go. I'll make it fillable and send it for you guys online. Right. Forms, this. All right, cool. So, okay, we'll probably actually just get the hour and a half, which is what we'll get it all the time. But that's not a problem. I think that should work fine. Okay, cool. So my online tips for you guys are there. Let me get to WhatsApp. One second. All right, cool. Where are you guys? POA. Right. This. Right. Me.
So as you say, you put the school.
This is Jan 2025. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I sent you all the stock valuation worksheet that I'm going to be using, so you can follow that. And then we're going to use the one they give us in the actual question because again, I want you to see how to use it because it's not like super hard. I'm not trying to make it out to be like impossible. Right? It's just that I found that particular format annoying. Right. And this one down here, put this one. Right. Pull this up. So about there. Okay, cool. And then we'll come back out to the correct view on this one. We're going to zoom in. Right, yeah, so Right, so I don't need that heading. I do need to go from here. Okay, well, they give me the heading. All right, cool. All right, so when in December, we have a balance on hand at the start, right? So this is the kind of usual thing they give us, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Number, so one column for, sometimes they call it receipts or inflows, right? So the number of units, unit price, total thing, and then you have the outflows or the issues, right? Number of units, unit price, total, and then the balance, right? So, hold on. Where did split gone? Why gone there? Right, that could work. Okay, cool. So, in this first one here, right, it's neither a purchase nor is it a sale. It's the balance, right? So there are 502 units at a unit price of 200. So we're going to just multiply. So we have a value of inventory of 104,400. All right. Okay. So just, well, you could go ahead and I'll just print it out after, but if you could jot it down, cool. Now let's scroll down to the next one. So we have a purchase on the 6th of December of 125 units at 230, right? So 125 at 230, that by this, so 28,750. Okay, cool. Now we have to bring that here. Wait, I was supposed to color code. All right, hold on, give me a sec. All right, I'm gonna put this, the opening, okay, I need some more colors on that, right? In a kind of yellow, we're gonna put this one in a kind of orange, a kind of red, right? So we have two batches, right? We have this one, the yellow one, and the kind of pink one, peach, right? Now, this is the important part here. We add up the total, the units. We add up the units. We add up the total cost. And then, this is the crux of the matter here. I'm gonna put that in a bright orange. I'm gonna invert the color on the, no. Get away. Right. Right. And to get the figure inside of here, which is the weighted average unit cost, you take the total value and divide by the total number of units. Right? And it did say to round off to the nearest dollar, right? Round off all calculations to the nearest dollar. Right? So it's not going to give us exactly 206, but we were instructed to round it off. Right? So I'm going to put round that 0. Cool. So 206. Right? So once again, how we get that figure is we take the total dollar value and divide by the total number of units. So 129,150 divided by 627, and boom, we have the total, we have the weighted average cost per unit. All right. So in class, people, are we okay? It's like finding average cost. Take total cost divided by total number of units. That's what we do. You have it upside down, by the way. Oh no, that's why. Oh, wait. Oh, somebody else want to pop in it? Okay, cool. Who that? Oh, HG. Cool. Hey, good afternoon, Jade. How you doing? Good to see you on.
Good afternoon, sir. All right.
All right, we doing? Oh, there's somebody else too. There's Michael. All right. Hey, Michael. Good afternoon. How you going? Good to see you on.
Afternoon, sir.
Yeah, man. All right. So we didn't start too long. People keep popping in, right? But we're doing the Jan 2025 paper 2 question 4. It's a stock valuation question using weighted average or AVCO, right? What I did is I sent you guys a kind of regular stock valuation worksheet in the chat, right? We're going to use that first, and then we're going to use the format they gave us. Because the format they gave us to me wasn't very intuitive, and you're under no obligation to use the format. So like I was saying to those in class before you all popped in, is if you do encounter that, a strange format for anything, manufacturing, income statement, TIAC, whatever it was, unless you have like you don't have enough room to the back of the paper because you're supposed to have some spare pages, unless there's not enough room in the answer booklet or on the paper itself, you can go and draw up your own format, but just like I was saying, make sure to label it very clearly and explicitly and legibly so they know which solution, which question that's the solution for, or for which that is the solution. All right, okay, so what we've done here so far, right? So let me just show those who just popped in, right? So I'm only showing PCD table on top at a time, so we don't have information overload, right? At the start of the month, we had 502 units, each valued at $200. Cool, no problem. So we start off there. So it's neither a purchase nor is it a sale. So we go straight to the balance column, right? So we're gonna, Jan 2025. There's the paper, Jan 2025, paper 2, question 4. Sorry, sorry, I don't see the message. Right, okay, so just to answer the question, Shiloh, I'm going to use this format first, and then I'm going to use the next format. So just in case, but again, in the actual exam, you are under no obligation to use any format they give you. Your only limiting factor is the extra pages they give you. So hopefully they give you stuff you could use. If not, and it shouldn't be any majority of questions, you can go to the spare pages behind and do your own thing. Just again, label it clearly, explicitly, and legibly. Right? Make sure to know what solution, for what question that is the solution. Right, yeah, so those who just came in. So the 502 by 200 is 104,400. On the 6th, we have a purchase of 125 at 230 per unit. So 125 by 230 is 28,750. Now, in the balance column, we bring down the opening stock and we include now the new purchase, right? So what we have, so under the weighted average method, it doesn't matter the order in which the units came in, because what we do is we recalculate what we call the weighted average cost per unit after every purchase. So we add up, so and to find average, it's just the average cost is total cost divided by total number of units. So some simple maths, right? So total cost, you just add up these two figures and get that total 129,150. Total number of units, add 502 and 125, you get 627. And to find the figure in the middle here, you simply divide 129,150 divided by 627. And that gives us 206. Now, yes, we will get decimal places, but the question did say round off all calculations to the nearest dollar. So you don't have to worry about any cents and 50 cents and 10 cents. No, just round off to the nearest dollar. Okay, all right. So let's check in one more time. Jacob and Shazar, are we okay with what we have so far? All right, Google Meet, I know I asked you all just now, but some more people popped in, so I'll just ask in again. Just give me a quick thumbs up or a G in the chat if you're good with that. Either one works. If you need me to move it again, it's not a problem. That's why we're here. All right? Sorry, things cracking. All right, cool. So let's go ahead. So the next thing that happens is we have a sale. So we have a sale of 257 units, right? Now, that's on the 13th, right? So we go here, we have 257. Now, the unit price, right, they didn't give us the cost price, so we could put it in. So 206, so the total value of goods going out is equal to the product there, right? 52,942, which is just the number of units by the weighted average cost. Now, check this. We have to have a balance, right? If we had 627 units initially, and we sold 257, how do we find what's left? We simply find the difference. So 627 minus 257, all right, cool. Sorry, what was that? Right, there you go. Oh, here's Jemai. All right, hey, good afternoon, Jemai, how are you going? Good to see you on today. All right, we're continuing the Jan 2025, paper 2 is question 4. It's a stock valuation question using AVCO or weighted average. We didn't start too long, and people keep popping in, so I'll keep starting over, right? So let me just finish something here first, right? And I'll pop in, I'll let you know, right? Right, so we have the three, so we had 627 units before the sale, we sold 257. So what we do is we take how many we had, subtract how many we sold, and that gives us how many we have left. And we use the same 206, right? And to get the value at n, we simply multiply, right? Number of units by the cost per unit. Wait, what happened now? And now we have 76,220. All right. Okay, cool. So All right, Shazari and Jacob, are we okay with what happened with the sale and how we got the balance at end, specifically the balance at end? Yeah? Okay, Google Meet. If you're good with that, give me a quick Genie chat. Thumbs up if you're good with specifically the balance at end, right? Re-explain? Yeah, no problem. Cool. All right, so since I re-explained, let me just start from top. So Jemiah could be part of the action too. Right. Okay, so Jemiah, I'm using a kind of more conventional stock valuation worksheet to answer initially. The question gave us another worksheet, which was kind of strange. So I'm going to do that after, right? But I want you to see how to, and I was saying to everybody, if they give you a format you don't want to use, you don't know how to use, there are some spare pages to the back of the booklet. Go there and do what you know how to do, but make sure to very clearly, explicitly, and specifically and legibly state, hey, this is the solution for this question, right? Because you don't want them to not give the marks you deserve, right? So again, we have the three columns: purchases, sales, and the balance, right? And in each of those columns, you have sub-columns for the number of units, the price per unit, and of course, the total. Now, at the start of the month, in the blue here, we have 502 units at 200 each. Okay, let me use the same blue now. Right, cool. That's not the same blue. Do I have that blue? It's a different app. That's why. That's close enough. You know what? I don't have to nitpick with this. Right, so that's blue, right? And then here now, with the purchase, you bought 125 units, 125 more units at 230 now, so price went up. So this is the value of units you've purchased. So now we have two batches of stock, right? We have the blue batch and the kind of light red batch, light orange batch, pinkish batch, right? So now in total, we have 502 plus 125 is 627 units. And the total value of all of them is the sum of the value of each batch, which comes up to 129,150. Now, to find the weighted average cost, which is what AVCO kind of stands for, weighted average cost, we divide the number of total value of all the units by the number of units, right? And that'll give us 206. Now, they did say to round off to the nearest dollar, because obviously this would not go into this flush, right? Okay, so that's when you make your first purchase, you have to recalculate your average cost, your weighted average cost. Now, after the 6th, we have the 13th, we made a sale, right? So on the 13th, we made a sale, right? 257 units. They didn't give us the cost price because they didn't want to sell it out. So the cost price is put there and they multiply going across. That gives us 52,942. Now, how do we calculate what we have left, all right? So if you had 627 and you sold 257, to find what's left, you'd subtract how many you sold from how many you had, right? The weighted average cost, right, is the 206, and to find the value, you simply multiply. All right, cool. Okay, so Fawaz had asked about it. So Fawaz, let me know. Does that help? Yeah, go to again, try a different thing. Good now? All right, cool. Right, and Jemiah, I hope I kind of brought you up to speed. If you have any further questions, let me know. If you want to go over it again, right, now is a good thing to ask. Right? All right, skip up. Nice. Right. Deisha. It's Deisha, right? I said Deisha. Deisha, right. Okay, cool. So we scroll along a little bit and we just push up. Okay, we have a next purchase of 175 units at 245. So here, what? If you didn't do it, I wanted it to try it, right? So fill it in here, right? So it's 175, 240, and then you multiply it, all right? And then if you want to, right, I want you to try across here now. This is a green now, and then we'll have a different color. Am I gonna have enough colors for this boy? I don't know. And maybe just keep all the purchases in the same color. Right, give me 1 sec. So it's smoky. That's why there was a fire up on the hill. Wait up, let's leave it that way. Okay, right. 75 to 45, and then multiply. 42,875. Okay, So now what we have to do, let's bring that there, bring this here. And now we have to recalculate the new weighted average cost. So again, what we do is we add up the number of units, we add up total value, and then we divide total value by number of units to find this piece here. All right, so I'll give you a minute or so to figure it out. If you need more time, no problem, just tell me. Yeah, sure. No problem. Right, cool. So what we do is we add the 370 and the 175, we get 545. We add these two, we get like almost 120. And all we do here in the middle, right? Right, so we're gonna that divided by that to 0, so cool. So 219. Anybody can corroborate 219? Yeah? All right, cool. All right, Google Meet, just give me a quick Genie chat or a thumbs up if you're good with what's on your screen currently. If you need me to re-explain, recap anything, give me an R or a thumbs down or something. Let me know what's going on. Okay. All right? If you don't say anything, I'll assume you're good. Cool. Oh, you're in live. Okay, cool. Yeah. Janaya. Wake up, Janaya. Which live? Liberty. Yeah. Question 4B. Yes. Afternoon. Enrique. Re-explain. All right. So again, after this sale here, we had 370 units, valued in total at 76,220. And when we divided 76, sorry, no, and this 206 just came down, right? When we make sales, it doesn't affect the weighted average cost, right? So what we do, we multiply the 370. So again, we had 627 units, we sold 257, so we ended up with 370. 370 by 206 is 76,220. Right, now, we had a purchase, 175 units at 245 each. You multiply going across, you get 42,875. So now balance at end, we have two batches. We have the balance before the purchase, and we have the amount from the purchase. Right? Each of them have their own quantity, their own unit price, and then their totals. So again, you multiply going across to get the total. But we did it already. So you just add the totals, right? So this is the total cost here, total number of units, and all we do is we divide total cost by total number of units, and that's how you get the 219. Right? Again, we are rounding off to the nearest dollar. All right? Okay, cool. All right, so Deja and Enrique, hope that helps. Okay, now, after that purchase, we have a next sale. We sold 322 units. So of course, you're going to go in the middle column. So if you want a minute or so to put that in the middle column and get a figure, cool. Maybe a minute or so. Yeah, no problem, Shiloh. I didn't get you mention that. That's not a problem. You do your thing. Yeah, no, English is before, so. Right. So first column is 223. There we go. All right, so 322. So again, we pull the 219 here. Right. So now to find out what we have left. So we, again, you're going to take 545, which is what you had. You're going to subtract what you sold. Yeah, 223. Nice. And then you're going to pull down, right? So you're going to pull down the 219 because that was the weighted average cost per unit, right? And you're going to multiply going across. Right? So 48,837. Right, so we have it was a blue, right, and a green and a yellow.
It's like, this to represent the amount of some valuation, like basically, but then all the forces in each of the categories and then multiplying one.
Right, so yes, so you're multiplying going across, right? And yes, when you have a next, like, okay, for example, like right now, right after we made this sale, we have a next purchase. So that purchase is going to go here, right? So that's 200 at 260, right? So when you have that, then you multiply. So quantity by price or price by quantity. That's going to give us this figure here. And now what we have to do after that is we have to now combine the new purchase with the existing balance, right? So you pull that down, you pull this across. Right. Now here, right? So this here is where you add first, right? Whenever you have a new purchase, you have to recalculate every time there's a new purchase, right? A sale doesn't affect the weighted average cost. A purchase does, right? So we add going down. So 223 and 200 is 423. And then this will give us about 100,837. This is where we have to calculate the figure in the middle here. And that comes from dividing the 100,837 by the 423. And that gives us, in this case, 238. All right. And then we have one more sale. All right. So I kind of did that one for you guys. Sorry about that. All right. So what you can do now is just fill in the last sale, and then we will answer the rest of the question. But we will backtrack thereafter to do the format they gave us. Sorry about the noise. I'm going to do it 2 more times. Sorry. All right, so fill in the sale and then update the balance. And we'll go from there. All right, let's go. So the last sale was 410, right? We're going to pull the same 238 from here because that's the most recent weighted average cost. And you just multiply going across. Right. Right, so now what do we have left? So we had 423, we sold 410. So we sold almost the whole batch. 423 minus 410 is 13 units. The weighted average cost is 238. Right, and now all we have to do is multiply going across. 13 by the 238. That gives us our last balance. So I feel like we gotta do a grade for this one. Okay, let's maximize that. Take out the split. Yeah, it's a lot for one page. If I zoom out, it'll be too small. Actually, it does fit, but it's very small, so I don't know if I could see that. 410, 238. Skipper, yeah man, you're good to go. Right, so yeah, I don't know if I could make out any figures there, right? So let's just zoom in a bit more. Right. Oops, no, that is too big. That's too big.
So they have
Uh-huh.
so they have to do for that question and the points of the just
Yeah, it's something to go for sure. Anything you don't get through first time with, or it didn't click, yeah, go over slow but sure, take your time. Right? Okay, yeah. So again, we started with the opening stock, right? And we had a purchase. Anytime you have a purchase under AFCO, weighted average, you have to recalculate the average cost. Right? So how we do that? You take the total, so to find average cost or weighted average cost, you take the total dollar value of all the units and divide by the number of units. It's finding an average. To find average cost, you take the total cost and divide by total number of units. So that's cost per unit. Right? Now, thereafter, right? So 502, right? So we have the 129, 150 divided by 627, 206, right? Now we sold 257 out of the 627. So 627 minus that gives us 370. Same average cost applies, multiply, going across. Right. Now we bought 175 more. Okay. So now we have two batches, the green batch and the new kind of pinkish batch here. So again, you line them up, right? 370 at 206, 175 at 245. So now we have to recalculate the average cost. So you add up your total cost, you get 119, 195. You add up total number of units, you get 545. Or when you divide cost by number of units, you get 219, rounded to the nearest dollar. All right. Now we had a sale of 322. So if you had 545 and you sold 322, when you subtract 322 from 545, you get what you have left. It's valued at this same weighted average cost. So you multiply going across to get the balance, right? Now the dollar value of the balance of the inventory, right? And you have one more purchase, 200 at 260. So again, you pull down what you had before, you add it, your purchases, right? So you add going down, total number of units, 223 plus 200 is 423. You add the total dollar value, 100, 837. Now, again, to find the new weighted average cost, you divide total dollar value by total number of units. Cost divided by quantity, price cost per unit. And then you had a final sale, you sold 410 out of 423, you had 13 left at the same 238, giving us an ending inventory balance of 3,094. Let me just double check something real quick here. Yeah, okay, cool, we're good. All right, okay, Shazaria and Jada, how are we feeling with that? You okay? Anything you need to go for double check or cross check? Shazaria, talk to me. You keep getting what, sorry? What you getting? Okay, let's check it out. So this divided by this. Yeah, 238. I don't know. I check it again. Clear the memory. All right. Google Meet. Right. So everybody inside, let me know if you guys, if you were able to reasonably follow the process and the pattern. Give me a G or a thumbs up. All right. If not, well, let me know. If there's a particular part that you're not sure about. Because it was just purchase, like buying and then selling. Buying and then every time you buy, you have to recalculate your weighted average cost. Every time you sell, you just take away how many you sell from what you had, and you bring on your cost. And that's what they did about 3 times. All right. Okay. So with that now, let's go back to the question.
So they could ask for 5 more.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't ask for all in the same question. That's just a lot to do, unless they give it like 2 transactions, 3 transactions, right? Which they could do. All right, so this is the format they give you here. I'll show you that one, right? I don't know if you have time to go through all, because we have about an hour left, and I wanna round off this paper in the hour and then start May 2025 in the next hour, right? Well, the next session. Calculate Ray's total cost of purchasing air fryers for the month of December 2024. Okay, what do you want? The total cost of purchasing air fryers. So guess what we had to do? All right, if you go back to your same stock sheet and you go to your purchases column, all you have to do is take all of the purchases. So 28,750, 42,875, and 52. All right. So I'll give it that. I'll give it that one, right? So calculation of Ray's total cost of purchases. So the value of purchases on that day plus that. Right. So jot it down, total it up, right? And again, these figures came from right here. Right. So again, every time I had a purchase. So 125 by 230 is 28,750. That's the first purchase. Then 175 by 245, second purchase. And the final purchase, 200 by 260, 52. So that's where I got these figures from. So just total them up and organize. Right, hold on. What? Where'd my WhatsApp go? Right, if your figure is wrong and you put it and then ask, right? No, right. So if for example, so good question. So again, if you come here, right, and let's say you had wrong figures in the purchases column, but you added them up, right? You will still get the marks awarded here because you did what they asked you to do, find the total purchases, right? And you would have had the correct process with the wrong figures. So that's as a very simple and straightforward application of the error carried forward rule. Right. So let's add those up. So total purchases 123,625. And then I want a calculation of total sales for the month of December. So hold on. Right. So Ray sells an air fryer at a price of $650. Calculate the total revenue from the sale of air fryers. So this one is actually even simpler because think about it. To find total revenue, you have to multiply total number of units sold by the selling price. So all we have to do is we're going to go back here, right? You're gonna look at all the sales, right? Or even if you want to go in the question paper, you could go in the question paper and just pull the number of units sold, right? 257 plus 322 plus 410. You add those together and then multiply by 650. Right, so you add in the numbers in the green together and then multiply by 650. I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. Let me just see. Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30. Okay, cool. Oh, look at it. Hi, good afternoon. I'm in a class right now. What was the question? All right, well, can you WhatsApp it to me? All right, cool. Dot com. Continue with letters. And there you go. Right, cool. So let's pull that up now. So how I did mine was a little more, right? So unit selling price is 650, right? Multiply by number of units sold, right? So what was the quantities for those again? 257, 322, and 410. Right, that's a 9, 515. Wait, what? 322, sorry, 322. Right, 512 is 9, and then 2, 3. Right, cool. So selling price is that, number of units is that, and all we have to do is multiply. When you multiply, you get 642,850. Right, super, you're on the ball. Very good. Right. 448. Right, cool. Save me. I have 3 rows. You mean 3 columns? Liberty. Liberty, I'm not seeing your question. You still there? Each date. So like in my format, 1 second. Yeah, because you have a number of units that was bought or sold. You have a unit price, right? And then you have to multiply those two things together to get the total value. All right. So like you have again number of units, a per unit cost, and the total value of the purchase or the sale. Right. Okay, all right. In class, people, are you okay with the calculation of total purchases and total sales? Yeah? All right, cool. All right, Google Meet, same question. Are you okay with the calculation of total purchases and total sales? If you have any questions, need me to recap, tell me, it's not a problem. Right. Okay, cool.
So you can graph the total sales revenue and total down so like something.
So recap total sales?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Right. So they told us in the question paper that the selling price is 650. So Ray sells an air fryer at the price of 650. So that's the selling price that he's using, right? So 650. And to find the total revenue, all we have to do is multiply the selling price by the quantity of units sold. So on the upper half of the screen, on the 13th, 23rd, and 30th, right? In the green, the number of units sold is 257, 322, and 410. Right? So you can multiply 650 each time to find the revenue, and then you would add all those together. Or if you want to preempt that, you could add up those units. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, you add up 257, 322, and 410, I get 989, and you simply multiply that by the 650. Right? So 650 by 989 is 642,850. Does that help?
Okay.
All right, cool. No problem. All right, so to wrap up this question, the last thing they want us to do is to calculate, they want us to do an income statement. So prepare an income statement using the form provided to show gross income earned by Ray's Appliance Shop from the sale of air fryers for the month of December 2024. Right, so that's why they made us find sales. So you put your dollar signs here. So sales minus cost of goods sold. So remember cost of goods sold. So let me help you out in case you forget, right? What? Sorry, hold on. What? Okay, right. So cost of goods sold is equal to opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock. right? So we have the opening stock, right? They gave us that information. Sorry, my bad. Right? We have the opening stock in the blue, right? And then, hold on, yeah. We also have total purchases, we have total sales, and we actually do have closing stock. Where? Right at the bottom here in the gray, right? This balance here was the final balance in the balance column, which is that this is the stock at the end of December. You have 13 units left at 238 each, giving us a value of 3,094. All right, so hold on, let me just pull this down. Right. So you have opening stock, you have closing stock. What was the purchases again? All right. Total purchases. What was it? What was the sales value? 642. I'll put that one on that kind of green, right? Right. So sales is in the green. Opening stock, blue. Purchases, whatever color that is. Closing stock here. Right? So it's opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock. Now that should actually match this figure here, 97,580. It should match 97,580. Should it? No. No. Sorry, I spoke too fast there. Actually, it should as it cost of goods sold, isn't it? Hold on. 123,625. Yeah, we got that. Okay. $553. Yeah. $642.8, right? Yeah. Oh, sorry, hold on. I forgot what I was doing here. This, that, this. I don't know how I can use it. Okay, so none. Cool. Yeah, so 221, that the 221,040 actually looks like what you're supposed to have. Yeah. So that's the cost price of the goods you sold, that's the selling price. And of course, when you subtract, you're supposed to get gross profit, right? Interesting. Anybody could confirm cost of goods sold for me? Oh, right. The normal way, like this? Yeah, right. That's what I want us to do here. So for sure, that's gonna happen. Just giving them a couple of minutes again to finish that off. Bit confused. Right, hold on. Adi, here, paper 2 predictions. None. Have no clue. They do what they want. There's no pattern. Any session? Yeah, tomorrow, same time, 4 to 6, half 6 to half 8. Wednesday is whole day from 9 in the morning until half 8 in the night. With a few breaks in between. cool. So let's go to that piece, see what we have there. Right, so raise appliances, shop appliances, raise appliances, yeah. Income statement for the month ended December 31st, right. So sales, like we said, the sales figure was 642,850. So we're gonna put that there. Less cost of sales. So we had to start with the opening stock. So the opening stock, the question gave that to us as the 502 units at 200 each, which is 100,400. That's gonna go here. And we have to add the purchases, right? So again, that's what we did here. Total purchases, 123,625, which you could corroborate from the stock valuation worksheet, 123,625. Right, you could add those two together to get cost of goods available. If you want, you don't have to put that subtotal, but it's nice. And then you minus closing stock. So again, the closing stock from the stock valuation worksheet was 3,094. Right, 3,094. Wait, where is from now? 3120. Yeah, hold on. Why I had 3120 there? Hold on, just now. Huh? Okay, no, forget that. We got 3,094, right? We'll use that. All right, and then 224. Where? $224,531. That's what you said. 224,531. Something off. Oh, I see exactly what it is. 100,400. I had 104,000. All right, so let's just check it again, right? So the inventory at start was 100,400. Yes. Purchases 123,625. Cool. This figure is some of those two. Again, that's optional. Inventory at end 3,094. Sorry, come back, right? 3,094. We had that, right? 3,000 from that, so that 229.31. So 229.31. So it's a little different. That's weird. Anyway, that happens when you use AFCO. Right, and then your gross profit, you're just going to subtract 229.31 from the 642,850, and we get 421,990. Right, so yeah, so a bit of a journey, that one. Right. Yeah. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to have to kind of forego the actual format they use, but I'll send it for you all in the PDF, right? I'm getting a different closing stock, but it's not off by that. I think it's off by like $26. So again, that's minor, right? In the grand scheme of things. 28,750, 206, 192, 162. Okay, no, so yeah, I clearly didn't use I think I used dollars and cents. I think that's what happened. I was using exact values here, so that's why my figures are off. Okay, cool. But here, in this one, I followed the instruction. Right, so this one here, yeah, so 3,094. Okay, cool. Okay, in class, people, are we okay with the income statement here? From sales to gross profit? Any questions, problems, issues, anything you want to re-explain? Skipper. Well, inventory at start and then always going in the income statement. It's just that the valuation of it depends on what method you use, which cost flow assumption you use. All right. Okay. Google Meet, just give me a quick Genie chat or a thumbs up if you're good with the income statement here, please and thanks. If not, let me know. Right? If your figure is different, let's kind of dig into it. Right? We have some time, right? Question 5. I think question 5 was a pretty decent question. We should be able to finish up anytime we have remaining. Then we'll take a little break and then start back at 6:30. All right, cool. So Let me print out this question for those in class, or after, also have to delete this. That, yeah, so with the next error question, where they had the same thing. Remember I was telling you guys when we did Jan 2024, there was an error where something was omitted from the trial balance, and they wanted a journal entry. Yeah. Right, so this is what we're doing. Right. Naya Batu. All right. All right, so folks, it says Costco Sports Center has a health, recreational, and social facility. Question 5, right, cool. The trial balance on December 31st, 2024 did not agree. Okay, it was short on the debit side by $368. So what that tells us is that the suspense account balance is definitely on the debit side. Suspense account. Right, so that's what that means. The suspense account has a debit balance of 368, right? This was entered in suspense. Okay, cool. So the accounts clerk later discovered the following errors. All right, so the total of a page of the purchases account of 6842, right, but was carried forward as 6824. Okay, so first question. The correct figure is 6842. Was the correct figure used? No, it was not. Yeah, so it was 6842, but they used 6824. So quick question, was the figure that was used, well, okay, it wasn't correct. Was it therefore too high or too low relative to the correct figure? Too low. So what they're telling us here is that the purchases account is understated. So purchases is an expense. It has what kind of balance therefore? Debit. And it's too low. So when something is too low, how do we fix that? We have to increase the balance, right? So if you don't have enough, you put in some more. So to increase that debit balance, you have to debit the account. So we're going to debit the purchases account here with the difference, right? Debit purchases. And if you debit the purchases account, guess what they're going to get to credit? The suspense. Why? Because this was an error, an arithmetic error in that account alone. It did not affect any other account. There was no double entry. It was just a wrong figure brought forward, right? And credit. So the suspense account is used to facilitate the double entry because every debit needs a corresponding credit. Oh crap! No. Right. Right. So back to here now, and the figure, of course, would be. So the correct figure, so 6842 minus 6824, which is $18, right? Oops. All right, so when you drop a suspense account, that'll go on the credit side. Next, check received from DEC Limited. 1,500 have been credited to DDE. Okay, if we receive a check from anybody, do we debit them or credit them? What's the double entry hack I told you on? Credit where it's coming from, debit where it's going. So if a check received from DEC, so if we receive a check, money's coming from somewhere and going into our bank account. Agreed? Cool. So wherever it's coming from, whoever paid us, you had to credit them. So we were supposed to credit DEC. Did we credit DEC? No, we credited DDE. Now, if we credited somebody we're not supposed to credit, how do we fix that? By debiting them. So you'll debit DDE. And if you forget to credit somebody, how do you fix that? You credit them. All right. So let's bring this down here. Let's actually change the font color because it's just kind of blended in with the stuff around it. So let's put it in our red. Red good? Oh no, that's not one. Font color. Oh yeah, red. Cool. Red. Cool. So again, a check received from DEC Limited had been credited to DDE. When you receive a check from anybody, any company, you credit them, you credit the giver and debit the receiver, right? You credit where it's coming from, debit where it's going. If we receive a check, you're going to debit bank because bank is going up. But how you classify bank? Bank is an asset. If an asset increases, you debit to record the increase. And if you debit in bank, you have to credit whoever sending the check. So we were supposed to credit DEC Limited. Did we credit them? No. Who did we credit instead? DDE. So if you have a credit in an account by mistake, you have to counterbalance or cancel that credit. How do you do that? With a debit. So we're supposed to debit DDE Limited. Right? And then every debit needs a corresponding credit. We were supposed to credit DEC. Did we? No, we didn't. So therefore, how do we fix that? By crediting them. Third. Right? And then if you just see 1,500. So this error is actually an error of commission. An error of commission is where the wrong person or entity's account is used for double entry. So in other words, you use the wrong person or company account. So that what happens then is that you hold on. Hold on. Can I make it disappear? Line with 0. Cool. We're good to go there. Line with 0. Nice. All right, so I don't really have any room to do the others, but this one here, I'll put in a highlight. Remember what we said in 2024, right? There was a discount allowed had been omitted from the trial balance. What they did here is the same thing. The petty cash, the balance of petty cash was omitted from the trial balance. If you omit something from the trial balance, there is no journal entry to correct it because you do not debit or credit the trial balance. It's a list of debits or credits, but it's not a T account. So there's no journal entry required for this, right? Nor should there be an entry in the suspense account, right? What should happen is, so first things first, petty cash, right, is cash. How do we classify cash? Asset, right? Asset is what kind of balance, debit or credit? Debit. So what we are saying here is that a debit balance is missing from the trial balance. And there's currently a debit balance in the suspense, right? So if you put in the 200 on the debit side of the trial balance, what's going to happen is your suspense account balance going to come down, all right? Because once again, what does it say in yellow here? It was short on the debit side by 368. It was short on the debit side. If the item in orange was supposed to be on the debit side but was not, it means that that would contribute to the shortage, right? Okay, so when we fix that and put in the 200, it means that this 368 will come down by 200. Correct, right? So the actual balance in the suspense account is supposed to be 168, right? Now, you could basically do the same thing by putting a 268 on the credit side, but I don't know what you would label it. You can put omitted balance, right? So technically you could do that, but I would not advise it because there's no journal entry to support that, right? There's no account that you have to fix, right? So this would just be an adjustment to the opening balance in the suspense account. There's no, you don't debit or you don't put it in the suspense account. You just adjust the balance before you start. All right, next, repairs to motor vehicles had been debited the motor vehicles account. Okay, Okay, repairs. How do we normally classify repairs? Expense. And motor vehicles is an asset. Are assets and expenses the same? No, but they're both debit items because they're both places where money collects or money pools or to which money goes. Money goes towards paying expenses. Money goes towards buying assets, right? Actually, I might cook Thursday, but you'll only know when you see the exam. Between now and then, you have some time. Get to work. Anyway, right. So, in other words, we debited motor vehicles when what account should have been debited? Motor repairs or just repairs, expense. So, we have a debit in motor vehicles that shouldn't be there, and we're missing a debit to repairs. So, let's talk about that one first. If we're missing a debit to repairs, how do we fix that? By debiting repairs. And we have a debit in motor vehicles that shouldn't be there. How do we undo or cancel a debit? By crediting the account. So in this case, it's supposed to debit motor vehicle and debit repairs. You're debiting, you can put motor vehicle repairs, you can put repairs expense, anything along those, you can even combine the two, right? So you put debit motor repairs and credit motor vehicles. Right? So again, that one is also as an error of principle, where the wrong class of account is actually used for double entry. By class, I mean you mix up the classification. So we use an expense account when we should have used an asset account. Long story short, is a wrong, I call them either as an error of wrong account or wrong amount, right? This here we use the wrong account. So you had to take it out of one and put it in the next one. Okay. Next. Purchases of fixtures. Hold on, I'm gonna get a different color there. Purple. Why not? Right, purchases of fixtures on credit from TS Supplies had been debited to TS Supplies and credited to fixtures. Okay. One more time. Purchases of fixtures on credit. Okay, how do we classify fixtures? Asset. Okay, if you're buying fixtures, are we increasing fixtures or decreasing it? Increasing. So you're increasing an asset. How do we record an increase in an asset? With a debit or a credit? Debit. So we were supposed to debit fixtures. And if you buy something on credit from somebody, so follow my train first. You buy something on credit. Did you pay for it right away? No. Therefore, you owe money for it. Yes. Anytime you owe anybody money, how do you classify that? Liability. And how do we record when a liability, comes into existence? With a credit. So we were supposed to debit fixtures and credit TS for 3,000, right? But what did it tell us? We debited TS and credited fixtures. So this is a complete reversal of entries. And with a complete reversal, what you have to do is reverse the reversal. So in other words, do the correct debit and credit, but for double the amount. Why double the amount? Because one, to cancel the incorrect debit and credit, and two, to put in the correct debit and credit. So anytime you have a complete reversal of entries, you execute the correct debit and credit, but for double the amount. Once to cancel the error, and once to enter the correct information. Let's see if I could fit that some way, somehow. Put that down here. All right, so debit fixtures, credit TS, and we're gonna, so if you double 3,000, you get 6,000. Right? Now, this is a complete reversal of errors which did not affect the trial balance and hence would not go in the suspense account. All right, okay, we have one more. Total of the analysis column for stationery in the petty cash book 150 had not been transferred to the stationery account in the general ledger. Okay, one sec. Do I have any colors left to use, boy? I guess we could use that one. Hold on, I could use this one. Yeah, okay. Okay, so Cinnamon Spice, who's the story? Why are you crying? Why are you running? Right. So do you do OA at POB and Econ? No, I don't. Sorry, Enrique. check Bali. When you actually write in the exam, how do you feel? How do you like bold? No, you don't. Don't do bold stuff. Jan 2026 from tomorrow evening. into Wednesday. What do I think will come on Thursday? Stuff from the syllabus. Other than that, no predictions. Sorry, I don't do predictions. The day before, I might dealt out some stuff, but even that, I can't guarantee. So I don't like to mislead people. Right? Okay, let's talk about this kind of pinkish one down here, right? So the total of the analysis column for stationery in the petty cash flow, 150, had not been transferred to the stationery account in the ledger. Okay, so what that means is that stationery is an expense. The figure for 150, they didn't send it to the account. So it means that they didn't put enough in the account. The stationery account was therefore understated, right? So in this case, this is something that would affect the trial balance. So if stationery is an expense, how do we record an expense when it's incurred? We debit the expense account. So to fix this, you had a debit stationery and credit suspense. $150. Sorry, station ERY. Right. Okay. So it says prepare the suspense account. And I give it to you here. 6 marks. Okay. Right. So you're starting with the 360. Well, like I said, you could put 360 in debit side, but we know we're supposed to adjust it for that number 3. All right. And then we only have 2 other items for suspense. Item 1 and item 6. Yeah. Item 2. Well, item 3 is supposed to use to adjust it. So I guess that you could count that, right? But yeah, but item 1, item 6. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So do up your suspense account and we'll go from there. All right, cool. So I'll give you a couple seconds again, sort it out. Infinite game. That's in commented that. Scrolling down. Right, that's a suspense account, that's the suspense account adjustment. Right, that's an error of commission, doesn't account reversal. And that was, so no, that was commission, that was principal, and then that was right. Cool. 6 marks, boy. All right. Let's see how we're looking when we start to put things together. Okay. Question 5. All right. So I have difference as for okay. Let me plug any stuff as I have it, and then I'll make any adjustments. Right. So don't jot anything down. So the initial thing was here, right? We have to debit purchases, credit, suspense for 18, right? Yeah, so this one was the adjustment for this. Again, I think this should be deducted from 368 off the bat. This should not actually be in the suspense account, to be honest. So I'm gonna take it out. So I'm gonna put 168 here, and I'm gonna explain that it was the 368 minus the 200. Right. Okay. Next, the stationary expense is 150. And yeah, look at that. When you add up 18 and 150, what you get? 168, and this side is already 168, right? Cool. Now, even if you had the 200 on this side and the 368 here, right, it would still balance. That's how it's supposed to kind of cancel off, right? The suspense account balance supposed to be, sorry, the entries in the suspense account to correct the errors supposed to, in total, equally suspend the initial balance, right? If as per trial balance. So yeah, 368 minus the 200. Right. I'll put a little note here. The omission of the petty cash book balance from the trial BAL when corrected would result in an adjustment to the suspense account balance. No entry was, no double entry, no journal entry was needed. Yeah, no journal entry, and thus no entry in the suspense account was needed. Okay, all right. In class, people, are you okay with the suspense account there? If you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. Eh? All right, Google Meet. If you guys are good with that, give me a Genie chat or a thumbs up. If you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. Yeah. So all right. So we are the hour and a half now, but again, these sessions are 2 hours today and tomorrow. And then Wednesday we have a triple 90 in the morning. Well, morning until the afternoon, and then 2 hours in the evening. All right. Let's see. We have just a couple more parts left here. So that was 6 marks, right? Okay, prepare the journal entries to correct the errors which do not require correcting in a suspense account. Include a suitable narration for each entry. That's 8 marks. Okay, cool. So I'll just pull this back up. All right, so we wouldn't need this one. We wouldn't need this one. We would need one for the blue. All right, so that one, we took care of this one already. Took care of this one already. This one as well, right? So repairs to motor vehicle have been debited to repairs. Okay. So I'll pull it down here. I could put it in blue so it kind of ties into it. No, I don't want red. I want blue and I want it to be bold. Right. So it was debited the motor vehicle, but it was supposed to be debited the repairs. So debit motor repairs or debit repairs expense. All right, and credit motor vehicles for 293. Right, so organize those journal entries, and then we have one more piece to do. Then we'll take a little break and then resume with the 2025 May paper. So then after this, go straight to question 2 and bypass question 1. I feel I will. Yeah, because I definitely want to make sure we get our whole question done in one go. Oh, wow, very good. Oh, one sec, my mom. Hey, mom. Oh, shucks, I'll come in. All right. All right, I just running upstairs to open the door for my mom. You ready with this one? Put it up one time. Oh, I need that. Okay, okay. Cool. So this one. Oh, right. So this push up here. Right. So in the first one, how much more room? Oh, not much more. Right. So in the first instance, right, we're gonna debit DDE and credit DEC to correct an error of commission, right? With the blue one, right? So that was the debit motor vehicle expense or motor repairs. That has error of principal, right? So commission is the wrong person or wrong company's account. Principal is the wrong class of account or the wrong type of account. And then finally, we had to debit fixtures and credit that for 6,000 to correct an error of complete reversal. All right. Okay, Shazari and Jacob, you okay with the journal entries there? Any questions, issues, problems you want to go over? No? All right, Google Meet, you know the drill. If you're good with that, come back with Genie Chat, please and thanks. All right, well, one person, so it's only Jade online. Everybody else real silent, boy. All right, if you have any issues, let me know. If it is you're just feeling rusty with the topic, you can always revise that. All right. Let me just answer one of the maths boys there.
Finance nigga, just focusing on this focusing on what we would answer right now.
All right, no problem. That's fine. All right, cool. Let me just clear all this stuff here. And pull up the last piece of the question. So prepare. Okay, that's that piece. So Costco Sports Center's draft income statement for the year, right? Showed a net profit of 13,000. Prepare a revised profit statement, taking into consideration the correction of those errors which would have affected profits. Okay, so we're gonna come out to 150 here. Put that around here. Go back up. Right. Down here. Okay, so maybe we could do a 200. So down here. All right. So anything with a revenue or expense would definitely need to be adjusted for. So item 1, because it affected purchases. All right. Item 4, it affected repairs. And item 6. All right, we're going to open up. Okay. Oh, right. That was that one. Okay. Right. So 13,000 was in net profit. Last page. So you started 13,000. Okay, cool. Net profit before revision. So we're going to go back up and take a look at those errors. Okay, so if we omitted, so the total of a page from the purchases account was carried forward short $18, right? So when you fix it, when you fix that shortage of 18, purchases is going to go up. Purchases is an expense. And when expenses go up, what happens to the profit? It goes down. So you're going to subtract that understated purchases, right? Or correction of understated purchases, right? Now you don't have to use minus signs or plus signs or whatever, but you could even use it like you could say less if you want. Next, you have repairs to motor vehicle repairs had been debited to the vehicles account. So the repairs account was understated. Repairs is also an expense. If your expense is understated, it's too low. So when you correct it, it will go up. And when expenses go up, profit goes down. So this item here would also have been a deduction. All right, so less understated motor repairs or correction of, right? Same. And last item. So same thing here. The total of the stationery column had not been sent to the stationery account, which means it was missing 150. So your stationery account and expense account was also too low. To fix that, we have to increase it. And when you increase expenses, profit goes down. So you have the same thing here. And you add them up, total adjustments, and then you subtract that from the figure. Then you have 12,539. Right. Okay, yeah. So I know errors could be a little painful for some people, especially the suspense account part. But again, if that's the case, I suggest you either go back over the replays when we did it as a class or the ones that are available publicly on YouTube. All right. Or you can ask some questions now, right? We do have, well, not much time. I have to walk my son home and somehow eat something. I don't know what I'm going to eat, but yeah. Anyhow, because we want to start on time for the last session there, unless you're all feeling maybe you feeling the strain in the 2 hours or the hour and a half was better. What's that? I had to say then. All right. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm not sure you guys may have had lessons before or other things going on to study, etc., etc. So yeah. A double session of 2 hours each is a tall ask at the end of the day. I understand that, especially during this time. Anyhow, Google Meet, just give me a quick G or a thumbs up if you're good with what's on the screen here. If you need me to go over it, let me know. It's not a problem, but you gotta let me know. All right, cool. All right, so folks, we're gonna put a pin in it there for about half an hour. All right, so I'll see you guys back in about that time. We're going to start May 2025. I think we're going to go straight to question 2 and bypass question 1, because question 2 is question 2 and 3 is where we had the big guns, the limited companies question, but it was stretching across 2 questions. So I wanna make sure and touch on that. Maybe we'll be fresh. Maybe I want to do that for tomorrow then. Will it be fresh tomorrow 4 o'clock? That's the question. Anyhow, we'll figure it out. All right, I'll go on for now. All right, cool. Every period you don't want to get predictions. It don't make sense. All right. Is it D red or dead?